Welcome back from the ad break, and let's continue with our lesson. So here's our concept map again, and we are going to be moving on to the first concept of this lesson. Let's now think about the terminology or the words that we are going to be using during this lesson. Now, remember, when we are working with algebraic expressions, we need to remember these words or this terminology. Let's look at this whole expression, 3x squared plus 1. Now, this whole thing is an expression which we spoke about. Now, when we're looking at them individually, the 3x squared alone and the 1 alone, these are the terms. So now in this expression, we have two terms here. Now, let's look at the 3x squared, that term alone. The 3 is the coefficient, right? And then we have the variable, which is the x. Now remember, a variable is a letter representing a number. Then we have the exponent, which is the 2 there. Remember, an exponent is the number of factors of the base. And then we also have lastly, which is the second term in this case, our constant. And remember, constant is the numerical term in an expression. So these are the words or terminology that is used when we are working with algebraic expressions. Now let's move on to words to symbol and to symbols, and that is converting word sums to algebraic expressions. So express the following words algebraically. The first bullet there says a certain number plus 3. Now, when they say a certain number, remember, we said a variable is a letter that represents a number. So in this case, we don't know what number is being spoken of here, but we do know that it is a certain number. That means we can choose any letter that we want to represent this number. So we can say there x, and they are saying there a certain number plus 3. So now we've changed this sentence or these word sums to an expression, right? An algebraic expression. Let's look at the next one. A number multiplied by 4 and added to 7. So this could be any number, and we are going to use a letter to represent that number. So a number multiplied by 4, that is 4 multiplied by any number. We can use p. And then added to 7. So that means that the product of this will be added to 7. So that can be written as 7 plus 4p. Let's move on to the next bulletin. We're still expressing these words algebraically. So here it says there, multiply a number by 5 and then subtract 3 from the answer. So what number are we going to use? We can use any number, but this number is going to be multiplied by 5. So I am going to use the letter A to represent that number. So we are going to multiply a number by 5 and then subtract 3. So from the answer there, we are going to subtract 3. Now, A multiplied by 5 can be written as 5A because remember, multiplication is commutative. We can swap the numbers or variables around. And then from that 5a, we are going to subtract our 3. Let's look at the next one. It says there, add 5 to a number and then multiply the answer by 3. So what do we start with here? We are starting with a number. So remember, this can be any letter that we want. So I'm going to use T in this instance. So we are going to add 5 to a number. So that means this number, and we are going to add 5. And then multiply the answer by 3. So whatever we have as our answer here, we are going to multiply it by 3. And that is now represented algebraically. It can also actually be written as 3, and then we are multiplying T plus 5. And we're going to start with in the brackets, which is us adding 5 to a certain number, and then whatever answer we get from that, we are going to multiply by 3. Let's look at the next one. The next one, we are still expressing these words algebraically, let's see what it says. Subtract 3 from a number and then multiply the answer by 5. So, what number are we talking about? We do not know. So we are going to use a letter to represent that number. What letter do you want to use? Let's use K, if we may. So we are going to subtract 3 from K. And then whatever answer we have there, we are going to multiply by 5. And again, as I've shown you in the previous one, we can represent this as 5 multiplied by K minus 3. You can see there we are still subtracting 3 from a certain number, and then whatever answer we get from that, we are going to multiply by 5. Let's look at the next one. We have there, multiply a number by 2 and add 3 to the answer. Then multiply the answer by 3. So there seems to be a few things going on there, but we are going to tackle them one by one. So firstly, we're going to multiply a number by 2. So any number that you want, we are going to multiply by 2. Any letter that you want to use, we are going to multiply by 2. That is 2 multiplied by m. So we are going to use m. So multiply a number by 2, we've done that. And add 3 to the answer. So we are going to add 3 to that answer. And then multiply the answer by 3. So after everything has been done here, we are going to then multiply by 3. But let's rewrite this properly so that it is presentable. Firstly, we know that the last thing we are doing is to multiply by 3. Everything that's in the bracket has to happen first. What happened in the bracket? We multiplied a number by 2, and that is going to be our 2m. Then we added 3. And in the end, we went now and multiplied the whole answer by 3. Let's look at the next one. Again, the last two that we're going to look at, we are expressing these words algebraically. Multiply a number by 10, subtract 5, and from the answer, multiply by 3. So any number that we want, any letter that we want, we are going to now multiply by 10. That is 10 multiplied by, I'm going to use Q. So 10 multiplied by any number, and then any letter, and then we are going to subtract 5. And from that answer, meaning this has to happen first, and whatever answer we get there, we are going to multiply by 3. So if I write this properly, that is going to be 3 multiplied by 10Q minus 5. And that's how we have represented those words algebraically. Let's look at this one here at the bottom. So it says there, subtract 5 from a number, multiply by 10, and then divide the answer by 5. So let's look at it step by step. Now we are going to subtract 5 from a number. Let us use B. So from B, we are going to subtract 5. Then we are going to multiply by 10. That means that after I've subtracted 5 from my number, I'm going to multiply by 10. And then divide the answer by 5. So everything here has to now be divided by 5. But how can I write this so that it is more presentable and less complicated? Firstly, we know that we are going to multiply by 10 after we've subtracted 5 from that number. So that is still going to be b minus 5 in my brackets. We're going to multiply by 10, and then everything is going to be divided by 5. And that is how those words are represented algebraically. Let's quickly go to an ad break, and then we'll see you just now.